caveat here, which is interesting, and an anecdotal story that we hear a lot of the time too, is that people will often go to Europe, for example, and eat a lot of the things that they don't usually eat because they go to Italy and they adopt this mindset that I'm talking about. I'm in Italy. It's the food capital of the world. It's pizza, it's pasta, it's wine. It's basically all of the foods that we know if you eat regularly at home, not going to be supportive of your metabolic health. Yet what's a very interesting story so often is I ate those foods and they didn't seem to bother me the same way they bothered me at home. I didn't come back 10 pounds heavier. Sometimes I came back at the same weight, or sometimes I even lost weight. So what's going on there? I think a couple of things. I think number one, food quality is different in the EU. For me, having a sensitivity to gluten that I really feel if I ever eat it at home, which is so rare now that I don't do it because it's not worth it. But eating these things in a different country, not in excessive amounts, but in a small kind of microdose fashion and feeling no ill effects, points at something. Either that the genetic modification of the wheat that we use in the United States is very different, this dwarf wheat that it's been referred to in the past, or the use of herbicides, pesticides, rodenticides, fungicides, things like glyphosate that we spray in abundance on US crops versus is more tightly regulated in the EU might have a really big part to play in the story of why people can eat certain foods in a different country that they would be wrecked by in this country. But food quality aside, I also think that it's the lifestyle, right? We forget that when we go to somewhere like Europe, there is this accidental inbuilt movement in life that is very rare in the United States in terms of just the baseline level of walking. I was looking at my steps when I was over there, and I wasn't even trying to be conscious of this. I was just curious, and I was accidentally racking up 15,000 steps every single day just by virtue of being in a place that's a little more walkable and walking to the store and then walking back and walking to the park and walking to the beach. And all of a sudden, when you're walking around, you see other people walking. And if I go for a walk here, I don't see anybody walking. Unless I go to a trail and I actively go to those places but everything is so big and everything is so spread out that we drive everywhere. And if I'm not conscious of it at home and I've had a busy day of coaching calls or podcast prep or whatever it is, I look at my steps at the end of the day and I might have 2,000 steps. It's like a pathetic amount of steps. And all of a sudden here in Europe, accidentally, I was at 15,000 steps. So we have this food quality piece over here, but we also have walking is an amazing exercise. I know it's not often seen that way because it's not that sexy. It doesn't burn that many calories, and it's not, the handstand walks or the backflips, but walking is probably the most underrated exercise you could imagine. It's so good for the system. It's good for your blood sugar regulation. It's good for your insulin sensitivity. It's good for the nervous system. It's good for the brain. You think about how it's habit stacked with all of these other healthy behaviors like fresh air and sunlight. It's great for digestion after a meal, and usually on holiday you're walking home after eating the big meal. So all of these things probably play into the factor as well that people will go away, eat foods they don't usually eat, and come back feeling great. And there's maybe an invitation to look at your behaviors at home and how can you mirror more of that vacation mentality, not from choosing foods that don't serve you, but from the movement aspect of some of those behaviors that really offset the potential damage that you could be doing if you didn't have that built in. Hello friends, if you enjoyed that clip, then you can watch the entire thing by heading to this link over here, or you can find us wherever you find podcasts by searching Radical Health Radio. If there's value here, please hit that like button, let us know in a comment what your biggest takeaway was, and hit subscribe, support the show as we support you. We'll see you soon.